I stood in Patricia's pristine dining room, my 7-year-old daughter Emma trembling beside me, as my mother-in-law screamed that Emma had broken her precious decorative plate. No dinner tonight. Straight to bed. My husband Derek stood frozen, staring at his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. Patricia's eyes gleamed with satisfaction, waiting for me to beg or apologize. Instead, I smiled sweetly and said, "We had already eaten dinner at home, thank you so much." I took Emma's hand and headed upstairs to pack our bags. Patricia looked confused. Derek looked panicked, but I had been preparing for this exact moment for 6 long months. Upstairs in the guest room, I moved with calm precision, folding Emma's clothes into her overnight bag while she sat on the edge of the bed, small and quiet. Her brown eyes watched me with that look I had come to hate over the past year and a half. That look of wondering what she had done wrong this time. That look of a child who had been taught to believe she was always one mistake away from punishment. I am a pediatric nurse. I have worked with children for 12 years. I know what a healthy, confident child looks like. Emma used to be that child. Bright, curious, full of laughter and questions. But 18 months of Patricia's treatment had dimmed that light, and watching it happen while my husband did nothing had been the most painful experience of my marriage. It started so gradually I almost missed it. Derek and I married 5 years ago when Emma was 2. Patricia seemed warm at first, welcoming me into the family with what I thought was genuine affection. But 2 years ago, when Derek's father passed away from what everyone called a sudden heart attack, something shifted. Or maybe it did not shift at all. Maybe the mask just slipped. The comments came first. Little observations about Emma being too sensitive when she cried. Suggestions that I was spoiling her by comforting her when she was upset. Remarks about modern parenting being too soft, too permissive, too focused on feelings instead of discipline. I tried to brush them off. Grief makes people behave strangely, I told myself. She just lost her husband. Give her time and grace. But the comments evolved into corrections. Patricia would override my parenting decisions right in front of Emma. If I said Emma could have a cookie, Patricia would swoop in and say, no. She had not earned it. If I told Emma she could go play, Patricia would assign her some arbitrary task first. If Emma spoke too loudly or moved too quickly or existed too enthusiastically in Patricia's presence, there would be a sharp word, a cutting remark, a punishment that did not fit any crime I could identify. 6 months ago at Thanksgiving, Patricia made Emma stand in the corner for 30 minutes because Emma accidentally knocked over a glass of juice. Not threw it, not deliberately spilled it. Knocked it over while reaching for the breadbasket. Emma was 6 years old, and she stood facing that corner crying silent tears while the rest of us ate pumpkin pie. I wanted to scoop her up and leave right then, but Derek squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "Please, just let it go. It is not worth the fight." Except, it was worth the fight. I just did not know it yet. 4 months ago, Patricia grabbed Emma's arm hard enough to leave finger-shaped bruises because Emma was laughing too loudly while playing with her cousin in the backyard. I saw it happen through the kitchen window, saw Patricia's face twist with irritation, saw her hand shoot out and clamp down on Emma's small arm, saw Emma's face crumple. I was outside in seconds, but the damage was done. 4 purple ovals on my daughter's pale skin. That night, I told Derek this had to stop. He said his mother was going through a hard time. He said Emma was fine. He said I was overreacting. I took photos of the bruises anyway. Some instinct told me I might need them. 3 months ago at a family barbecue, Patricia served dessert to everyone except Emma. When Emma asked quietly if she could have ice cream too, Patricia said she had not finished her vegetables fast enough and therefore did not deserve dessert. Emma had eaten everything on her plate. I had watched her, but Patricia's word was law in her house, and Derek said nothing. Not one word in defense of his daughter. That was when I started documenting everything. I am a nurse. I understand the importance of medical records, of paper trails, of documentation. So I began keeping a detailed log. Every incident, every date, every witness present. I recorded conversations on my phone. In our state, only one party needs to consent to a recording, and I was that party. I took photos, I made notes. I created a timeline. I took Emma to our family pediatrician, Dr. Sarah Brennan, a woman I trusted completely. I showed her the bruises. She examined Emma gently, asked careful questions, and documented everything in Emma's medical file. She wrote a professional assessment stating that the bruising pattern was consistent with forceful gripping by an adult hand, not with a fall or accident as Patricia had claimed. I started seeing a family therapist, Dr. Marcus Fitzgerald, with Emma. He was kind and patient, and over several sessions, he helped Emma talk about how she felt when she was at Grandma Patricia's house. Scared, confused, like she was always doing something wrong but she did not know what. Dr. Fitzgerald wrote his professional evaluation, noting Emma's anxiety and the direct correlation between that anxiety and visits with her paternal grandmother. Every family gathering, I brought a small notebook. I made subtle notes. Times, quotes, reactions. I built a case the way a prosecutor builds a case, because some part of me knew this was heading toward a confrontation that would require evidence. The folder in my car contained photographs, medical records, therapy session notes, transcripts of recordings, screenshots of text messages where Patricia called me controlling and paranoid, and a comprehensive timeline showing 18 months of escalating emotional abuse. It also contained a consultation summary from a family law attorney I had met with 3 weeks ago just to understand our options, and through all of it, Derek remained silent. Conflict, avoidant to a degree that felt like betrayal. Every time I tried to discuss Patricia's behavior, he shut down. That is just how Mom is. She means well. Can you just let it go? You are being too sensitive. She is grieving, Dad. Give her time. But time was not fixing this. Time was making it worse. And yesterday, I had given Derek an ultimatum. Tomorrow night at your mother's house, if she does something to hurt Emma and you do not defend our daughter, I am done. I will take Emma and leave. And I will not come back until you are ready to put your child first. He had looked at me like I was being dramatic, like I was issuing empty threats. He did not understand that I meant every word. Now I zipped Emma's bag closed and turned to face my daughter. She looked so small sitting there, her hands folded in her lap like she was still waiting to be punished for the plate she had not actually broken. I had seen Patricia knock that plate off the sideboard herself 2 hours ago when we first arrived. I had watched her sweep up the pieces and put them in the kitchen trash. And then at dinner, she had pulled those pieces out and accused Emma of breaking it. I knelt down in front of Emma and took her hands. We are going home, sweetheart, and we are not coming back here for a while. Is Grandma Patricia mad at me? The question broke my heart. No, baby. Grandma is having a hard time being kind. That is not your fault. It has never been your fault. I picked up both bags and took Emma's hand. Time to show Derek and Patricia exactly how serious I was. The stairs creaked under our feet as Emma and I descended into the lion's den. The dining room fell silent. Patricia stood near the head of the table, her arms crossed, wearing that satisfied expression of someone who believed she had won. Derek sat frozen in his chair, his face pale. Claire, Derek's sister, looked between all of us with obvious discomfort. Patricia spoke first. I hope you have taught that child some manners up there. I set the bags down carefully and looked her straight in the eye. Actually, Patricia, I need to tell you something important. I have been documenting every interaction you have had with Emma for the past 6 months. I have photographs, medical records, recordings, and witness statements. The room exploded. Patricia's expression cycled through shock, fury, and disbelief in rapid succession. What? How dare you? This is my house. Derek jumped to his feet. Angie, what are you doing? I remained perfectly calm, my 12 years of nursing training serving me well. Staying composed in a crisis is what I do. I have consulted with both a family therapist and a family law attorney. In this state, grandparents can petition for visitation rights, but courts consider the child's best interest above all else. My documentation shows a clear pattern of emotional abuse and physical harm. I am prepared to present this evidence if you ever attempt to force visitation through the courts. I am also prepared to file for a restraining order if necessary. Patricia started screaming. You are poisoning my granddaughter against me. You are manipulative and controlling. Everything I have done has been for Emma's own good. You cannot do this to me. I will turn Derek against you. I lost my husband, and now you are taking my son and granddaughter away from me. Her voice reached a pitch that made Emma press closer to my side. I put my hand on my daughter's shoulder, steady and protective. Derek finally found his voice. Mom, maybe we should all calm down and talk about this. My heart sank. Even now, even after everything, he was trying to play peacemaker instead of protector. I looked at him with a mixture of disappointment and resignation. Derek, I told you yesterday what would happen if you did not stand up for our daughter tonight. I meant it. Angie, please. His voice cracked. Do not do this. Before I could respond, Claire stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the hardwood floor. Mom, I think Angie is right. Everyone turned to stare at her. Claire's face was flushed, but her voice was steady. I have been watching this pattern too. I have been afraid to say anything because you have always been controlling, Mom. But Angie is right. You treated my kids the same way before I limited contact years ago. This was news to me, and clearly to Derek, whose jaw dropped. Claire continued, her words gaining strength. You belittled them. You undermined my parenting. You made them feel like they could never measure up to your impossible standards. That is why we only visit on major holidays now. That is why my kids do not ask to come see Grandma anymore. I thought Derek knew. I thought he saw it, and was just handling it his own way. But I realize now he has been in denial about who you really are. Patricia turned her fury on her daughter. How dare you! After everything I have done for you, I raised you, I sacrificed for you. Claire shook her head sadly. You controlled us, Mom. That is not the same thing as love. The words hung in the air like a verdict. I took advantage of the moment. I picked up our bags again and took Emma's hand. Derek, when you are ready to put your daughter first, you know where we will be. Emma looked back at her father as we walked toward the door. She raised her small hand in a tentative wave. Bye, Daddy. Derek stood there, frozen between the two most important women in his life, unable to choose. Or maybe unwilling to choose. The result was the same. I opened the front door and walked out into the cool evening air. Emma and I climbed into my car. I buckled her into her booster seat, kissed her forehead, and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see Patricia's house, all lit up and full of chaos I was no longer part of. As we drove away, Emma asked quietly from the back seat, Are you and Daddy going to get divorced? I do not know, sweetheart. But whatever happens, you are safe. That is what matters most. She was quiet for a moment. Then, in a small voice, I did not break that plate. I know, baby. I know you did not. We drove home through the darkening streets, and for the first time in 18 months, I felt like I could breathe. By the time we got home, it was nearly 9 o'clock. I made Emma hot chocolate with extra marshmallows and let her watch cartoons while she drank it. Normal, comforting routines. When she started yawning, I carried her upstairs, helped her brush her teeth, and tucked her into bed with her favorite stuffed elephant. You are so brave, I whispered, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. Are you brave too, Mama? I am trying to be. She fell asleep within minutes, exhausted from the emotional upheaval. I sat on the edge of her bed for a long time, just watching her breathe, making silent promises that I would never let anyone make her feel small again. Downstairs, I poured myself a glass of wine I had no intention of drinking and collapsed on the living room couch. The house felt too quiet. The silence pressed in from all sides. I had just blown up my marriage. Maybe. Probably. Derek's face as we left kept replaying in my mind. That frozen deer-in-headlights expression. That complete inability to act. His laptop sat open on the coffee table where he had left it this morning. An email notification popped up on the screen. Mom. Tomorrow's coffee. 10 a.m. as usual. My blood turned cold. Derek and I had always maintained an open device policy. No passwords, no secrets, total transparency. It was a foundation of trust we had built early in our relationship. So I did not hesitate to click on his email. What I found shattered something fundamental inside me. Months of emails between Derek and Patricia. Every Tuesday morning for the past 4 months, they had been meeting for coffee. Secret meetings he had never mentioned. Not once. I scrolled through the messages, my hands shaking. From Patricia, 3 months ago. Derek, honey, I am worried about Emma. Angie is too paranoid and overprotective. She is raising that child to be weak and unable to handle any criticism. All I am trying to do is toughen Emma up for the real world, but Angie sees everything as an attack. Derek's response, I will talk to her. But he never did. Not once did he come to me with any of this. Another email from Patricia, 2 months ago. Angie is trying to turn Emma against me because she is jealous of our bond. She cannot stand that Emma loves her grandmother. This is about Angie's insecurity, not about anything I am doing wrong. Derek's response. Let me handle it, Mom. Handle what? Handle me? Like I was the problem that needed managing? The emails went on and on. Patricia systematically undermining me, painting me as irrational, oversensitive, vindictive. And Derek just absorbing it all, promising to fix me, to bring me in line, to make me see reason. The worst one was from 3 weeks ago. Right around the time I had consulted with the family attorney, Patricia wrote, "If you do not get control of your wife, you are going to lose your family. She is being completely unreasonable, and you know it. I am your mother. I deserve respect. I deserve access to my granddaughter. You need to put your foot down, Derek. Be a man. Be the head of your household." Derek's response made me want to throw his laptop across the room. I know, Mom. I am working on it. Working on it. Working on controlling me. Working on making me compliant. Working on maintaining access for his abusive mother to continue hurting our daughter. All those times I had tried to talk to Derek about Patricia's behavior. All those conversations where he shut me down and told me I was overreacting. He had already been hearing Patricia's version of events. He had already been primed to see me as the problem. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Patricia had done. Because Patricia was not my person. She did not owe me loyalty or protection. But Derek was supposed to be my partner, my teammate, the person who stood with me, not against me. I heard his car pull into the driveway around 11 o'clock. The front door opened quietly. He came in looking exhausted and guilty, his tie loosened, his hair disheveled from running his hands through it. "Angie, we need to talk about tonight." I held up his laptop screen facing him. "No. We need to talk about the past 4 months of Tuesday morning coffee dates with your mother." All color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I was trying to help. I thought if I listened to her and helped her understand. Help her understand what, Derek? That abusing our daughter is wrong? That should not require weekly coaching sessions. He sat down heavily in the armchair across from me. I was trying to manage both relationships. I thought I could make everyone happy. By lying to me? By having secret meetings with the woman who has been hurting our child? By letting her convince you that I am the problem? She is my mother, Angie. She just lost Dad. She is struggling. So that gives her the right to traumatize Emma? That gives her a free pass to leave bruises on our daughter's arm? Derek flinched. Those were an accident. I stood up. Wine glass forgotten. No, Derek. They were not. And you know what else? Patricia broke that plate herself. I saw her do it 2 hours before dinner. I watched her knock it off the sideboard and sweep up the pieces. Then she pulled those pieces out of the trash and blamed Emma. She fabricated the entire thing just so she would have an excuse to punish a 7-year-old child. That is not grief. That is not struggling. That is calculated cruelty. He looked genuinely shocked. She would not do that. I saw it, Derek. With my own eyes. But you would not believe me even if I had video evidence, because you have spent 4 months letting your mother tell you I am paranoid and unreasonable. We stared at each other across the living room. 5 years of marriage, 1 daughter. And this enormous chasm between us. What do you want from me? He finally asked. I want you to choose, Derek. Either you go to marriage counseling with me and you set firm boundaries with your mother, or I am filing for separation. I will not raise Emma in an environment where her own father will not protect her. His voice rose. You would really leave me over this? No, Derek. You would be leaving us by choosing your mother over your daughter. I am just making it official. He sat there for a long moment, his head in his hands. Finally he nodded. Okay. Counseling. I will do counseling. But his voice was resentful, backed into a corner, not genuinely committed to change. That night, he slept in the guest room. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if my marriage was already over and I was just too stubborn to admit it. 3 days passed in cold silence. Derek and I moved around each other like strangers sharing a house. Emma picked up on the tension and became quieter, more withdrawn. The light I had seen returning to her eyes after we left Patricia's house started to dim again. I had booked an emergency marriage counseling session with Dr. Laura Simmons for Friday afternoon. Derek agreed to go. though every line of his body language screamed resentment. Wednesday morning, I was at work at the pediatric clinic when my phone rang. Principal Helen Crawford from Emma's Elementary School. My stomach dropped before I even answered. Mrs. Thompson, we have a situation. Emma's grandmother is here claiming there is a family emergency and she needs to pick Emma up from class. I nearly dropped my phone. Do not let her take my daughter. I am on my way. This is not authorized. We have not released Emma. Your mother, in law, is quite insistent though. She is saying you have been keeping Emma away from her unfairly. Keep Emma in your office. I will be there in 10 minutes. Call the police if my mother-in-law tries to leave with her. I grabbed my keys and practically ran to my car. The clinic was only 15 minutes from Emma's school, but I drove like every second mattered. Because it did. I arrived to find Patricia in Principal Crawford's office, playing the role of concerned, wounded grandmother to perfection. She had a tissue in her hand, dabbing at dry eyes. She wore a conservative navy dress and pearls. She looked like someone's sweet grandmother from a greeting card. Emma sat in a chair against the wall, her backpack clutched to her chest, her face pale and frightened. When I walked through the door, Patricia's expression flickered for just a split second. Something cold and calculating flashed across her face before the concerned grandmother mask snapped back into place. You see how angry she looks? Patricia said to Principal Crawford. This is what I have been dealing with. She will not let me see my only grandchild. I am worried about Emma. Angie has been acting so strange lately, very paranoid and controlling. I just wanted to check on my granddaughter. Principal Crawford, may I speak with you privately for a moment? I kept my voice level and professional. In the hallway, I explained the situation as briefly as possible. I showed her the photographs of bruises on Emma's arm that I kept on my phone. I mentioned the documentation, the therapy, the attorney consultation. Principal Crawford's expression transformed from uncertainty to professional concern. I understand completely. We take these matters very seriously. Thank you for informing me. Back in the office, Principal Crawford addressed Patricia with newfound firmness. Mrs. Hartwell, I have confirmed with Emma's mother that you are not authorized to pick up Emma from school. Only parents and pre-approved contacts on our list may sign out students. I'm going to need you to leave the premises. Patricia's mask cracked further. Derek would want me to see her. He is my son. This is all his wife's doing. She is poisoning everyone against me. Then Derek can call the school himself and add you to the approved list, I said calmly. Until then, you need to leave, Patricia. You have turned everyone against me. You are going to regret this. You are keeping my granddaughter away from me out of spite. Principal Crawford stood. Mrs. Hartwell, I am going to need you to leave now, or I will have to call security. Patricia grabbed her purse, shot me a look of pure hatred, and stormed out, but not before saying loudly enough for Emma to hear. I love you, sweetheart. Grandma will always love you, no matter what lies your mother tells you. Emma's face crumpled. I crossed the room and knelt in front of her chair, pulling her into my arms. You are okay, baby. You are safe. After assuring Principal Crawford that we would update her on the situation and providing her with copies of relevant documentation, I signed Emma out of school. We went to get ice cream. Emma needed normal. She needed to remember that the world was not always frightening. As we sat in the ice cream shop, Emma asked in a small voice, "Why does Grandma Patricia think I am bad?" You are not bad, sweetheart. You are perfect exactly as you are. Grandma is confused about some things. But that is not about you. From the ice cream shop parking lot, I called Derek at work. I explained what had just happened. Patricia had tried to take Emma from school. She had lied to school officials. This was escalating beyond family drama into something potentially dangerous. She was probably just worried about Emma, Derek said. You are overreacting. Something inside me snapped. Derek. She tried to take our daughter out of school without permission. She lied to school officials. This is not worrying. This is attempting to circumvent parental authority. This is, at best, wildly inappropriate and, at worst, attempted kidnapping. Angie, that is extreme. Your mother trying to take our child from school is extreme, Derek. You will tell her that if she ever comes near Emma's school again, I am filing a restraining order. Today, right now. Choose. Silence on the other end of the line. Derek. Choose. Your daughter or your mother, right this second. More silence. Then finally, fine. I will tell her. He sounded angry. Like I was forcing him to be cruel to his poor, grieving mother. Like I was the villain in this story. I hung up without saying goodbye. That evening, Derek came home looking defeated. He said he had called Patricia and told her to stay away from Emma's school. He said Patricia had cried and accused him of abandoning her. He said if I did not fix my marriage, he would never forgive himself for choosing me over his mother. I stared at my husband. Are you happy now? My mother is devastated. Your mother tried to take our child from school today, and you are worried about her feelings? He had no response. Just stood there, looking lost and resentful and entirely unable to see that he was still choosing wrong. The counseling session was tomorrow. I was not sure Derek was salvageable, but I had to try. For Emma, for the 5 years we had built together, for the man I thought I had married. That night, I lay in bed alone and wondered when my husband had become a stranger. Dr. Laura Simmons' office was decorated in calming shades of blue and gray, soft lighting, comfortable chairs. The kind of space designed to make difficult conversations feel a little less impossible. Derek and I sat on opposite ends of the couch, a careful 2 feet of space between us. Dr. Simmons, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and an air of quiet competence, settled into her chair with a notepad. I would like each of you to describe the primary issues in your marriage from your perspective. Angie, would you like to start? I took a breath and began. Calmly, factually. I laid out the past 18 months like a medical case study. Patricia's escalating treatment of Emma. The bruises, the punishments, the emotional abuse. Derek's repeated refusal to set boundaries. The secret Tuesday morning meetings. The school incident yesterday. I remained composed, but my pain was evident in every word. Dr. Simmons listened without interruption, occasionally making notes. Derek, your turn. Derek shifted uncomfortably. My mom has been going through a hard time since Dad died. Angie will not cut her any slack. She is being inflexible and will not let me have a relationship with my own mother. She documented everything like she was building a case against Mom, which feels manipulative. I am stuck in the middle, trying to keep everyone happy, and Angie is giving me ultimatums. Dr. Simmons looked at Derek for a long moment. Derek, what did you do when your mother left bruises on your daughter's arm? It was an accident. She just grabbed her arm to get her attention. What did you do when your mother tried to take your daughter from school without permission yesterday? She was worried. Angie has been keeping Emma away from her. Dr. Simmons leaned forward slightly. I am going to ask you a direct question. For how long has your mother's opinion mattered more than your wife's feelings or your daughter's safety? Derek went silent. The therapist changed tactics. Tell me about growing up with your mother. It was normal. Fine. I had a good childhood. Was there ever a time you disagreed with your mother and she accepted it? Respected your choice? Supported a decision she did not agree with? Derek opened his mouth to answer. Then stopped. Thought. Could not come up with a single example. What happened when you told your mother you wanted to marry Angie? His voice was quiet. She said Angie was not good enough for me. That she was trying to trap me. That I would regret it. And when you married Angie anyway. Mom did not speak to me for 3 months. It was the worst 3 months of my life. I thought I had lost her forever. And there it was. The truth bubbling to the surface. Dr. Simmons continued gently, systematically. She asked about Derek's childhood. About decision-making in his family. About what happened when he expressed opinions that differed from Patricia's. About how his father navigated disagreements with Patricia. The picture that emerged was devastating. Patricia had controlled every aspect of Derek's life. His friends, his activities, his college choice, his major. She had sabotaged his previous relationships, finding fault with every girl he dated. When Derek's father tried to stand up to her, she gave him the silent treatment for weeks at a time. Derek had learned early that the only way to have peace was to comply. He married me, Derek admitted through tears that had started falling, because Angie was strong enough to stand up to Mom. I thought she would fight the battles I was too afraid to fight. I thought I could just stay out of it and everyone would figure it out. So you put your wife in the position of being the bad guy while you played neutral? I am a coward. I have watched my mother hurt my daughter and I have done nothing because I was afraid. Afraid of losing Mom. Afraid of the silent treatment. Afraid of being cut off like I was when I got married. The words poured out of him. The secret meetings. The hope that he could manage both relationships without confrontation. The realization that he had been lying to Angie and appeasing Patricia and sacrificing Emma's well-being because he could not face his own fear. Derek, Dr. Simmons said gently, your mother's behavior is abusive. Not just to Emma. To you. For your entire life. What you are describing is called enmeshment. You have never been allowed to be your own person separate from your mother's needs and desires. Derek looked devastated but also, somehow, relieved. Like someone had finally named the monster he had been running from his whole life. My phone rang. Claire. Derek's sister. I am so sorry, but I need to take this. Dr. Simmons nodded. We were at a natural breaking point anyway. I stepped into the hallway. Claire? Angie, I need to tell you something. After the other night, I started thinking about everything. I called Aunt Dorothy. Dad's sister. What did she say? Angie. Mom's behavior is not new. It is not because of grief. She has been exactly like this for over 40 years. What Claire told me in the next 10 minutes rewrote Derek's entire family history. Patricia had emotionally abused Derek's father for their entire marriage. Aunt Dorothy had watched it happen. Watched Patricia undermine him, control him, belittle him, isolate him from his family. Derek's father had suffered from severe anxiety and depression. His heart attack at 62 had been preceded by years of stress, related health issues. Aunt Dorothy believed, and multiple family members agreed, that Patricia had literally stressed him to death. Patricia had driven away most of the extended family over the decades with her controlling behavior. Claire had gone to therapy for years to recover from her childhood. She had been hoping Derek would figure it out on his own. I am so sorry I did not tell you sooner, Angie. I thought Derek knew and was just coping with it like I had to. I did not realize he was still in denial about who Mom really is. I walked back into Dr. Simmons' office. Derek, I am putting this on speaker. You need to hear this. Claire repeated everything for Derek, about their father. About Patricia's 40-year pattern. About the extended family Patricia had driven away. About Claire's own therapy and recovery. Derek sat frozen, listening to his entire understanding of his family being dismantled. When Claire finished, Derek pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I watched him dial. Patricia answered cheerfully. Derek, honey, have you come to your senses? Mom, I need you to listen carefully. You are not to contact me, Angie, or Emma anymore. If you show up at our house, Emma's school, or any place we are, I will support Angie in getting a restraining order. What you did to Dad, what you have done to me my whole life, and what you are doing to Emma, stops now. Today, I am done. Patricia's voice rose to a shriek even I could hear through the phone. How dare you, after everything I have done for you? I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. Derek's voice was steady despite his shaking hands. You are right, you did a lot for me. You made me terrified of disappointing you. You controlled every choice I ever made. You drove away Dad and now you are trying to hurt my daughter. I am done, Mom. He hung up, sat there staring at his phone like he could not believe what he had just done. Dr. Simmons spoke gently. That was incredibly brave, Derek. He looked at me. I am so sorry. I am so sorry I let it get this far. I am so sorry I did not protect you and Emma. I am so sorry. I reached across the couch and took his hand. I know. We sat in Dr. Simmons' office for another hour, making a plan. Individual therapy for Derek to work through decades of conditioning. Continued marriage counseling. Family therapy with Emma. Firm boundaries with Patricia. No contact unless and until Derek had done significant work and Patricia showed genuine change, which Dr. Simmons gently suggested might never happen. For the first time in months, I felt a tiny spark of hope. 2 weeks later, everything was tentatively improving. Derek attended individual therapy twice a week and seemed genuinely committed to the work. We went to marriage counseling together every Thursday. Emma started seeing Dr. Fitzgerald regularly, and her nightmares stopped. The tension in our house eased. We were healing. Then I got served with legal papers. A courier showed up at our door on a Wednesday afternoon. I signed for the envelope, confused. Opened it, read the first page, and felt my blood turn to ice. Patricia was petitioning the court for grandparent visitation rights. Our state allowed grandparent rights under certain circumstances, Patricia's petition claimed she was being alienated from her granddaughter without justification. She claimed I was mentally unstable and vindictive. She claimed Derek was being manipulated by me. She wanted court, ordered visitation. Supervised at first, then unsupervised, regular and ongoing. She had hired Gregory Walsh, an attorney known for being aggressive in family court. I called Jennifer Harding, the family law attorney I had consulted with months ago. She agreed to take our case. Over the next 3 weeks we prepared. Jennifer reviewed all my documentation and was impressed by how thorough it was. This is the most comprehensive evidence I have ever seen from a client. You have an airtight case. We prepared Derek to testify about his childhood and Patricia's pattern of behavior. We prepared Dr. Fitzgerald to testify as an expert witness about Emma's emotional state. We subpoenaed Dr. Brennan to testify about the bruises and her medical opinion. Jennifer even tracked down Aunt Dorothy, who agreed to testify about Patricia's treatment of Derek's father. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in family court, Judge Maria Castellano presiding. She had a reputation for being tough but fair, for cutting through manipulation and focusing on the child's best interest. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, a feeling of institutional gravity. Patricia sat with her attorney at one table, looking every inch the grieving grandmother. Conservative gray suit, minimal jewelry, tissues already in hand. She did not look at us. Derek and I sat with Jennifer at the other table. Emma was at school, being watched by my mother. She did not need to see this. Patricia's attorney presented her case first. He painted her as a devoted grandmother being cruelly severed from her only grandchild. Patricia testified about her love for Emma, about her grief over losing her husband, about how Angie had turned Derek against her. She cried. She talked about feeling like she had lost her entire family. She claimed the bruises on Emma's arm were from Emma falling while playing. She claimed the school incident was a misunderstanding. She claimed every documented incident was either an accident or a misinterpretation. She was convincing. If I had not lived through it, I might have believed her. Her attorney argued that maintaining family connections was in Emma's best interest, that grandparents provide stability and wisdom, that children need extended family. On cross-examination, Jennifer methodically took Patricia apart. She got Patricia to contradict herself multiple times. She pressed her on specific incidents until Patricia's calm facade started cracking. She asked about the Tuesday morning meetings with Derek and the content of those emails. Patricia claimed she could not remember details. Jennifer refreshed her memory with printed copies. By the time Patricia left the stand, she looked rattled. The sympathetic grandmother mask had slipped several times, revealing flashes of anger and control underneath. Then it was our turn. Jennifer presented my documentation like a prosecutor presenting evidence. Photographs of the bruises. Dr. Brennan's medical opinion that the injury pattern was consistent with forceful gripping, not a fall. Therapy notes from Dr. Fitzgerald documenting Emma's anxiety and fear. Audio recordings from Thanksgiving and other gatherings where Patricia's treatment of Emma was verbally abusive. The timeline showing 18 months of escalating behavior. The school principal's written statement about the unauthorized pickup attempt. Text messages where Patricia called me controlling and threatened to turn Derek against me. The evidence was overwhelming. Patricia's attorney tried to object, to minimize, to explain away. But there was too much. And all of it was documented, dated, witnessed, professionally evaluated. Dr. Fitzgerald testified as an expert in child psychology. He explained that Emma showed clear signs of emotional distress, specifically related to interactions with her paternal grandmother. That Emma had expressed fear of making Grandma Patricia angry. That Emma had begun to internalize Patricia's criticism and believe she was a bad child. That continued contact with Patricia would be actively detrimental to Emma's emotional well-being and could cause lasting psychological harm. Patricia's attorney tried to discredit him, suggesting he was biased because Angie was paying him. Dr. Fitzgerald calmly explained that his professional opinion was based on months of clinical observation and established psychological principles, not on who was paying his fee. Then Derek took the stand. I had never been more proud of my husband than I was in that moment. He was terrified. His hands shook, but his voice was clear. He testified about his childhood, about the control, about the manipulation, about watching his father suffer, about being conditioned from birth to never oppose his mother. About the 3 months of silent treatment when he married me. About the secret Tuesday meetings where Patricia tried to turn him against me. About realizing, finally, that he had been sacrificing his daughter's well-being because he was too afraid to stand up to his own mother. Then he said something I had not expected. "Your Honor, I love my mother, but I am terrified of her. I have been terrified of her my entire life, and I watched her start doing the same thing to my daughter that she did to me and my father. I cannot let that continue. Emma deserves to grow up without that fear." He paused, gathering courage. "Granting my mother visitation would be like granting an abuser access to their victim. I know those are strong words, but they are true. My mother is not safe for my daughter, and I will do everything in my power to protect Emma from her." Patricia gasped audibly from her seat, started crying angry, furious tears. Her attorney put a hand on her arm, trying to calm her. Aunt Dorothy testified next. She described 40 years of watching Patricia's behavior. She talked about Derek's father's declining mental and physical health, about the stress, the anxiety, the depression, about how multiple family members had cut off contact with Patricia over the years because of her controlling, abusive behavior, about warning Derek's father to leave but watching him stay out of fear and obligation until it literally killed him. She looked directly at the judge. "Patricia has left a trail of damaged relationships and traumatized family members over 4 decades. I tried to warn my brother. I failed him. I will not fail my great niece." By the time we finished presenting our case, Patricia looked less like a sympathetic grandmother and more like what she was, a woman with a 40-year pattern of abuse who had now set her sights on a 7-year-old child. Judge Castellano reviewed the evidence. She asked clarifying questions. She examined the photographs, the medical records, the therapy notes. She listened to portions of the audio recordings. Then she addressed Patricia directly. "Mrs. Hartwell, the evidence presented today shows a clear and disturbing pattern of behavior that puts this child at risk. Your petition for visitation is denied." Patricia started to object, but Judge Castellano continued. "Furthermore, I am issuing a protective order. You are not to contact Emma Thompson directly or indirectly. You are not to go within 500 feet of her school, her home, or any location where she is present. You are not to contact her parents except through an attorney. This order will remain in effect for a minimum of 2 years, at which point the parents may petition to have it reviewed if circumstances warrant." The judge looked at Derek and me. "I want to commend you both, particularly Mrs. Thompson, for the thorough documentation you provided. It is clear you have been trying to protect your daughter while giving your mother-in-law chances to change her behavior. The court recognizes that this is a painful situation. I hope your family can heal." Patricia's attorney tried to object, to request an appeal, but the judge was firm. The ruling stood. It was over. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Patricia confronted us one last time. Her composure was completely gone. "You have destroyed our family. You will regret this. You are keeping my granddaughter from me, and you will pay for it." Derek stepped between Patricia and me. "No, Mom. You destroyed it. Years ago. We are just finally protecting ourselves from you." Patricia's attorney pulled her away, murmuring about not violating the protective order before it was even filed. Derek and I walked out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sunshine. We stood on the steps, breathing in air that felt cleaner somehow. "It is over," Derek said, his voice full of wonder and relief. "It is really over." I leaned against him. We had won. Not just the court case. We had won our family back. 6 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning in early autumn, I stood in our kitchen making blueberry pancakes while Emma and Derek set the table together, laughing about something silly Emma had said. The change in our family was remarkable. Emma was thriving. Her second-grade teacher reported that she was engaged, confident, and a joy to have in class. She had joined the school art club and made several close friends. She no longer asked if she was in trouble or if she had done something wrong. The anxious, frightened child who walked on eggshells had been replaced by the bright, curious daughter I remembered from before Patricia's influence took hold. Dr. Fitzgerald said Emma was one of the most resilient children he had worked with. Derek had transformed. He continued individual therapy every week, working through decades of conditioning and control. He was learning to make decisions without fear of disappointing someone. He was learning what healthy boundaries looked like. He had become the father I always knew he could be, present and protective and emotionally available to Emma. He had reconnected with Aunt Dorothy and several cousins Patricia had driven away over the years. He was building a support system of family who actually loved him healthily. Our marriage was stronger than it had ever been. We continued couples counseling monthly, maintaining the progress we had made. Derek had proven through consistent action, day after day, that Emma and I were his priority. He had learned to communicate instead of hiding from conflict. I had learned to trust him again, slowly and carefully, as he showed up for us again and again. We were planning to renew our vows next spring. Patricia had made no attempts to contact us since the protective order was issued. According to Claire, Patricia was telling anyone who would listen that she was the victim, that we had alienated her from her family, that she had done nothing wrong. Most of the extended family who knew the truth had distanced themselves from her. Claire maintained limited contact with firm boundaries, but even that relationship was strained. Derek struggled with sadness about his mother sometimes. He grieved the mother he wished he had, the childhood he deserved, the father who had been slowly destroyed. But he no longer felt guilt. Dr. Simmons had helped him understand that he did not cause Patricia's behavior and could not fix it. That the only person responsible for Patricia's choices was Patricia herself. The folder of documentation sat in our fireproof safe. I hoped I would never need it again, but it remained as a reminder of the power of preparation, of evidence, of standing firm when everything in you wants to just keep the peace. As we sat down to breakfast, Emma chattering excitedly about her upcoming art show at school, Derek reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for not giving up on us." "On me. Thank you for finally showing up," I replied. We ate pancakes and made plans for the day. Emma wanted to go to the park and then maybe get ice cream. Normal family things, beautiful in their ordinariness. Later, after Emma went outside to play in the backyard, I stood at the kitchen window watching her. She was spinning in circles with her arms out, her face tilted toward the sun, completely unself-conscious and joyful. 7 years old and finally allowed to just be a kid. I thought about that night 6 months ago, walking out of Patricia's house with Emma's hand in mine and a folder full of evidence in my car. I thought about the fear, the uncertainty, the pain of watching my marriage nearly collapse, but also about the strength I had found, the boundaries I had set, the fight I had fought. People sometimes ask me if I feel bad about what happened with Derek's mother, if I think I was too harsh, too unforgiving, too extreme in documenting everything and taking it to court. The answer is no, not even a little bit. Because here is what I learned through all of this. Protecting the people you love is not about being nice or keeping the peace. It is about being brave enough to disrupt the peace when the peace is actually silent suffering. For too long, I tried to be understanding. I tried to make excuses for Patricia's behavior. I tried to bridge the gap between Derek and his mother, while she was actively hurting our child. I mistook patience for wisdom and silence for strength. But real strength is saying enough. Real strength is gathering your evidence, making your case, and standing firm even when everyone tells you that you are overreacting. Real strength is being willing to be called difficult, controlling, or unforgiving when you know you are actually just being protective. I learned that documentation is not paranoid. It is powerful. That recordings and photographs and medical records are not about being vindictive. They are about having truth on your side when someone tries to rewrite reality. They are about being able to prove what happened when someone says you are lying or misremembering or being too sensitive. I learned that some people, no matter how much they say they love you, are not safe. And you do not owe unsafe people access to your children, your home, or your peace. Family is not an excuse for abuse. Blood relation is not a free pass to cause harm. Love should not require you to sacrifice your child's well-being. I learned that sometimes the people we love need to be shocked into awareness. That sometimes love means letting someone face the full consequences of their choices. That I could not save Derek from his mother. He had to choose to save himself and our daughter. And he did. Finally, he did. I learned that I am stronger than I ever knew. That I could stand in a courtroom and calmly present evidence of my child being hurt. That I could set boundaries that felt cruel, but were actually merciful. That I could be both kind and immovable. That I could fight for my family without becoming mean or vindictive. That strength and gentleness are not opposites. Emma is 7 years old now. She is happy, confident, and safe. She knows she is loved unconditionally. She knows she is protected. She knows that the adults in her life will stand between her and anything that tries to hurt her. She is learning that she has value simply because she exists, not because she earns it through perfect behavior. She is learning what healthy relationships look like. That is worth every awkward family gathering I will never attend. That is worth every relationship I will never repair. That is worth being called the villain in Patricia's version of this story. Because in my daughter's story, in the story that actually matters, I am the one who said no more. I am the one who documented. I am the one who stood firm. I am the one who fought. And Emma will grow up knowing that when someone treats you badly, even someone who is supposed to love you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to walk away. You have the right to demand better. Derek came up behind me as I stood at the window and wrapped his arms around me. What are you thinking about? Just how far we have come. How different everything is now. Better different? So much better. Emma ran toward the house, calling for us to come outside and play. We went, hand in hand, into the sunshine. A family rebuilt. A family healed. A family that finally put the right people first. The folder with all the receipts sits in our safe. A reminder that sometimes love looks like walking away. That sometimes protection looks like preparation. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply say, no more, not my child, not on my watch. And that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is fight for your family, even when the person you are fighting is family themselves. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting someone you love? Have you ever had to set a boundary that felt harsh but was actually necessary? Have you ever had to walk away from a family member for the sake of your own well-being or your child's safety? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if it helped you feel less alone in your own struggles, or if it gave you courage to set boundaries you have been afraid to set, please consider liking this video. It helps more people find these stories and realize they are not alone in their difficult family situations. And if you want to hear more stories about real people facing real challenges and finding the strength to protect themselves and the people they love, please subscribe to this channel. I share new stories every week about ordinary people doing extraordinary things to stand up for what is right. Finally, if you know someone who is struggling with a toxic family member, someone who is trying to set boundaries but feels guilty, someone who needs to hear that protecting their children is more important than keeping the peace, please share this video with them. Sometimes we all need permission to put ourselves and our children first. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for understanding that family is complicated, that love is not always enough, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is protect the vulnerable, even from people who claim to love them. I wish you courage in your own boundaries, strength in your own battles, and peace in knowing that protecting the people you love is always the right choice. Take care of yourselves, and remember you are not alone.